My name is Elena Moore, and this is something I've never told anyone, not even my therapist. I grew up in a small, snow-blanketed town called Bear, Vermont, the kind of place where winters lasted forever and nothing bad ever seemed to happen. Or at least that's what we all told ourselves. Bear was quiet, painfully quiet sometimes, where the biggest excitement was the yearly Maple Festival or when the high school football team made it past regionals. I was an only child, or so I thought. My parents, Beth and Roger, were older than the rest of my friends' parents. I was born when they were both in their mid-40s, after years of infertility treatments and miscarriages. My mom used to call me her miracle baby. I guess that's why they were so protective, to the point of isolation. We lived about 15 minutes outside town, on a lonely wooded road where houses were spaced so far apart, you couldn't even see the neighbors' windows glowing at night. Because of that, I didn't really have friends growing up. My mom always found an excuse for why I couldn't go to sleepovers. We don't know their family, or they live too far, or you've got a sensitive system, sweetie? What if you got sick and I wasn't there? She meant well, or at least I think she did. Everything was normal until I turned 21. I was midway through my second year at UMass Amherst, studying psychology. My phone had started blowing up more than usual. At first, I thought it was just homesickness. My mom always had a tough time with me being away, but her texts grew odd. Made enough dinner for you and your sister. Miss you both. Tell your sister I said thanks for folding laundry. You should help more when you visit. At first, I thought maybe she was texting the wrong person. I even laughed it off, teasing her over the phone. But then she left a voicemail, her voice trembling like she was holding back tears. I don't like how you've been acting. You're cold lately. Eleanor has been helping me with things around the house while you've just disappeared. I didn't raise you to be like this. I stared at my phone in confusion. Eleanor? I called her back and asked what she meant. She paused on the other end, then quietly said, "Don't joke like that, Elena. It's cruel." Her tone was so sharp, so serious, that I felt it in my chest. I told her I'd come home that weekend. When I pulled up the icy driveway that Friday, the house looked smaller than I remembered, older. The paint was peeling around the porch, and a gutter hung loose like a crooked smile. My mom greeted me at the door, wrapping me in a tight hug, tighter than usual. Her face looked pale and tired. She had deep purple shadows under her eyes. Inside, the house was warm, but tense. My dad was out of town on a business trip. He worked in forestry and traveled often. That left just the two of us, or so I thought. As I dropped my bag in the hallway, I noticed something strange. The guest bedroom, which had mostly collected dust and old boxes since I was a kid, had been made up. New lavender sheets, a small jewelry box on the nightstand, and a hairbrush with strands of brown hair in it, just like mine. There were 2 toothbrushes in the upstairs bathroom, 2 matching towels hanging on the rack. "Who's staying over?" I asked, trying to sound casual. My mom blinked at me, confused. "What do you mean?" I pointed at the guest room. "The bed's made. There's stuff in there." She furrowed her brow like I was the one acting strangely. "Elena, you're scaring me. Stop pretending you don't remember. This isn't funny." I didn't know what to say. That night I barely slept. Around 2:43 a.m., I heard footsteps overhead. Slow, deliberate pacing. Our attic didn't have flooring, so any movement up there sounded heavy. But what chilled me wasn't just the sound. It was where they began, directly above my room. The next night I stayed up. I placed my phone on my desk, angled toward my bed, and hit record. I figured if there was someone messing with me, I'd catch them. The next morning I opened the footage, scrubbing through until the timestamp hit 3:07 a.m. My blood ran cold. On the screen, I saw the blanket shift, and then me, or someone who looked exactly like me, sat up slowly, Her eyes were wide open, staring directly at the camera. But I was still asleep. The other version of me tilted her head slightly, like a curious animal. Then, after nearly a full minute, she smiled. Not a normal smile. It was all teeth and something sinister behind the eyes. I dropped the phone, nearly fell out of my chair. I ran downstairs, phone in hand, and shoved it at my mom. She watched the clip for 5 seconds before letting out a scream, raw and guttural. She clutched her head, repeating, "No, no, no," like a prayer gone wrong. Then she whispered something I'll never forget. She said this would happen. She warned me you'd try to take her place. I froze. "Who, Mom? Who said that?" But she wouldn't answer. She locked herself in her bedroom and didn't come out for hours. The next day, while she was still holed up, I went into the attic. It was dusty, filled with boxes that smelled of mothballs and old wood. One box was labeled in faded Sharpie, 2005, The Girls. Inside were photos, drawings, school awards. Some I remembered, others I didn't. There were pictures of 2 little girls, identical. One was me. The other, same face, same eyes, same small birthmark behind the left ear. Some of the photos had the second girl scratched out with pen. Others had her face blurred or torn. One photo showed the 2 of us on a swing set. On the back, in my mom's delicate handwriting, it read, "Eleanor must stay gone." Elena is the one we chose. I sat there for what felt like hours, heart pounding. I didn't understand. Had I had a twin? Had they hidden it from me my whole life? And if so, why? That night, I locked my bedroom door. I pushed a dresser against it, not knowing who or what I was trying to keep out. But around 3 a.m., I heard the sound. The door creaked open, slow and quiet, like someone didn't want to wake me. Except it was locked and barricaded. I kept my eyes shut, heart hammering. The room grew cold, freezing, like a draft had poured in through invisible cracks. Then I felt the breath, hot and sour against my face. A whisper so close it tickled my ear. "You took my life. Now I'm taking yours." That's when everything went black. I woke up in the hospital, tubes in my arm, my dad sitting at my bedside looking 10 years older. He told me my mom had found me unconscious on the floor, unresponsive. They said it was a seizure, but I've never had one before, and all the tests came back normal. 2 days later, my mom was admitted to a psychiatric facility. She'd been telling the doctors over and over, "I have 2 daughters. One of them is cursed." I moved to Colorado 6 months later, changed my number, started going by Lena instead of Elena. I told my professors I needed a mental health break and took the semester off, tried to put it behind me. But even now, sometimes when I walk past a mirror or a dark shop window at night, I see something, a reflection that lingers just a second too long, a face that smiles before I do. And I know she's still out there, waiting. My name is Callie Morgan. I'm 22 years old, and up until about a year ago, I didn't believe in anything I couldn't explain. I was raised to be practical. The kind of kid who asked for books instead of toys, who watched science documentaries for fun. I didn't believe in fate. I didn't believe in ghosts. I believed in data, logic, measurable reality. That belief system shattered during my junior year at Colorado State University. Room 316, Brookstone Hall. It started with a housing mix-up. I was supposed to live in a cozy 2-bedroom suite with my best friend Allie, but a last-minute error bumped me to a single room in Brookstone Hall, specifically room 316. The RA winced when she handed me the key. "Brookstone, huh?" she said almost to herself. "Room 316? No one ever lasts in there." I laughed awkwardly. "Why?" She didn't answer, just shrugged. "You'll see." When I walked in, I immediately understood why no one liked it. The room was cold. even though it was early September and the weather outside was mild. It wasn't just the temperature, though. It was the air. It felt stale, like the room hadn't breathed in years. And then there was the mirror. It was bolted to the wall across from the bed, massive and clearly antique. The frame was ornate, Victorian looking, with curling silver details that had tarnished to black at the corners. A jagged crack split the top right corner like a scar. I thought it was weird the university hadn't removed it. Everything else in the room was your standard issue dorm stuff. Twin bed, metal desk, bookshelf. But the mirror looked like it belonged in a museum or a haunted mansion. I didn't think much of it. In fact, I made a joke out of it on Instagram. New room, haunted mirror, but make it aesthetic, shaka cursed chic. Looking back, that was the last time I slept without fear. It began the second night. I was brushing my hair before bed, casually watching myself in the mirror. My eyes were tired, rimmed in red. I hadn't fully unpacked, and half my room was still boxes. Then I saw it, a dark red smear on my cheek, like blood. I froze, touched my face, and looked at my fingers. Clean. I leaned in closer. The smear was still in the mirror, but I couldn't feel anything. I blinked, and it vanished. I stood there for a full minute, heart beating fast. Eventually, I chalked it up to stress. Probably just a weird shadow or a trick of the light. But every night, it got worse. The mirror started showing things. Wounds that weren't there. Bruises on my neck. Scratches on my arms. My body, my actual body, lying in bed, unmoving, eyes wide open. But when I'd turn around to check, nothing. I was fine. Not a mark on me. I even started writing it all down in a notebook. Timestamps, details, anything that might help me track a pattern. I told myself it was for science, that I could analyze it later and figure out what was going on. But part of me already knew this wasn't something I could explain. 3:12 a.m., I set up my phone to record the room overnight. That's when I noticed the time. Every night the mirror would change at exactly 3:12 a.m. on the dot. The first video just showed my reflection sitting up while I remained asleep, not moving, not blinking. The second showed it walking to the edge of the bed and staring directly into the camera. By the third video, it didn't matter that I was watching from my phone screen. I felt seen, like my reflection, knew I was watching. One night, I caught something that still makes my stomach turn. The video showed me sleeping. Then from the edge of the mirror, something grabbed my ankle. Invisible, except for how it dragged my sleeping body off the bed and out of frame. My reflection stayed behind. She didn't react. She just watched. I deleted the video within seconds, but it didn't stop the nightmares. The mark. At first, it was just mental. I started sleeping with the lights on, avoided mirrors. I even skipped classes because I was so tired. But then it became physical. Real bruises began showing up on my body. A handprint on my upper arm, a scratch down my rib cage. I thought maybe I was hurting myself in my sleep, but it didn't make sense. My nails were short. I had no history of sleepwalking, and the marks were odd, too precise, too intentional. One morning I woke up with a split lip. Another, my wrist was swollen so badly I couldn't hold a pen. I went to student health. They asked if I felt safe in my dorm. I said yes, because how do you explain to a campus nurse that your mirror might be trying to kill you? Mid-October, the university assigned me a roommate, a transfer student named Jenny. She was sweet, talkative, a little superstitious. She lasted 3 nights. On her third morning, she packed her things in complete silence. Her hands were shaking. I asked her what was wrong. She looked me in the eye and said, "I saw someone standing over your bed last night. She looked like you, but she wasn't breathing." Jenny moved out the same day, didn't even file a roommate complaint, just left. The final night still feels like a hole in my memory. I was sitting on my bed staring at the mirror. I hadn't slept in nearly 2 days. I felt thin, stretched out, like my skin was barely holding me together. And then she stepped out. Not a hallucination, not a dream. My reflection walked out of the glass. She looked exactly like me. Same flannel pajamas, same tangled bun. But her eyes were black, not bruised. Black, like ink had spilled across the whites of them. She tilted her head to the side, smiled just slightly, and whispered in a voice that sounded like mine warped through static. "You've seen how you die. That means it's coming." I don't remember screaming. I don't remember leaving the building. I only remember running barefoot across campus at 3 a.m., heart jackhammering against my ribs. I left everything behind. My laptop, textbooks, even my favorite hoodie. I never went back for any of it. I transferred schools 2 weeks later, cut contact with most people from CSU. I told my parents I had a mental health crisis, which wasn't entirely untrue. I haven't looked into a full-length mirror since. I cover them, avoid reflections. Even when I wash my face, I use the medicine cabinet mirror only when absolutely necessary. And even then, never at night. But last week I made a mistake. I was walking down the hallway in my new dorm. One of the maintenance guys had propped open the door to a storage closet, and inside, just for a second, I caught my reflection in a tall mirror leaning against the wall. Just a glance, but she was there, standing behind me, still smiling. And this time, I swear, she raised her hand and waved. My name is Carter. I'm 21 years old, and up until this year, I didn't believe in cursed objects, demons, spirits, haunted houses. I thought it was all movie stuff. But then I bought a secondhand iPhone, and now I don't even trust silence. It all began in January, the day after my phone got stolen on a crowded commuter bus in Burlington, Vermont. I didn't have insurance, and I was already tight on money after Christmas, so I started looking through secondhand options, Craigslist, pawn shops, anywhere cheap. That's how I found a weird little store wedged between two vape shops downtown. I swear I'd never seen it before. No name, no branding, just a faded, hand-scrawled sign in the window. Used phones, cheap prices. The moment I walked in, everything felt heavy. Stale air, buzzing fluorescent lights, and this faint smell like burnt plastic. Behind the dusty glass counter was a man, mid-50s maybe, pale, sunken cheeks, and the darkest circles under his eyes I've ever seen. He didn't say hello. He just pointed at one phone, an iPhone 13. Perfectly clean, no scratches, no fingerprint smudges. $200. I asked him why it was so cheap. He just stared at me and muttered, "Last owner never came back for it." I should have left. I didn't. The first signs. Something was wrong. That night I charged the phone and set it up with my iCloud. Everything seemed fine until around 2:46 a.m. The screen lit up on its own. I was half asleep, but I remember seeing it clearly. Incoming call, unknown number. It rang once, then stopped. When I checked the call log in the morning, it wasn't there. Later that day, my best friend Lauren texted, "Why did you call me last night and breathe into the phone? Are you okay?" She sent a screenshot. My number had called her at 2:47 a.m., a 15-second call. But my call history, clean, like it never happened. Voices that weren't mine. The next night, Lauren sent me a voicemail she'd gotten after another late-night call. It was just breathing at first, deep, slow, almost like someone savoring each inhale. Then a voice whispered, "Why did you take me?" That same voice started whispering in my room every night, exactly at 2:46 a.m. At first I thought I was dreaming, but then I started recording the audio with my laptop, and I heard it. Not through the phone, from somewhere inside my room. One morning I opened my photo gallery to delete screenshots and found a video I never recorded. No title, no timestamp. It was pitch black at first, then the screen slowly brightened, like someone covering the lens with a hand, and pulling it away. The angle was strange, like it had been placed high in the corner of my bedroom. The footage showed me asleep in bed. The camera zoomed slightly, and then a voice, quiet, raspy, whispered, "I like watching you." I dropped the phone. I wanted to smash it right then and there, but a part of me needed answers. 2 days later, I got a call while walking home from class. My own number was calling me. I froze, stared at the screen until it stopped ringing. Then it rang again. I answered. There was silence. Then a voice, my voice, but twisted, echoing, distorted. It said, "It's not your phone." Then the call ended. The timer stuck at 0013 and wouldn't clear. I ran back downtown that same day to return the phone, but the store, the weird dusty place I'd bought it from, gone. In its place was a boarded up storefront, windows covered in soot-streaked plywood. An old man sweeping the sidewalk looked at me and said, "You looking for that phone shop? That place burned down years ago. Owner died in the fire. They never found the phone." I asked him when. He said, dead serious, "January 17th, 2017. Exactly 6 years ago. To the day. I got rid of the iPhone. I bought a brand new Android with a new SIM and new number. I turned off all location tracking, switched passwords, everything, but it didn't matter. Every night since, my screen still glows at 2:46 a.m. And some mornings I wake up to find new voicemails. My own voice, whimpering or sobbing or laughing in a way that doesn't sound like me at all. So yeah, I used to laugh at haunted objects. I thought stories like this were made up to scare people. Now I don't sleep without turning my phone off and covering it with a towel. Sometimes it still vibrates under there. If you're watching this and you're thinking about buying a secondhand phone, don't. Because maybe it's not just a phone. Maybe it's a key. And once you open the door, something might come through. Like what you just heard. Subscribe to Whispers Horror for more real, unsettling stories based on true events and modern nightmares. And remember, not all devices can be turned off. Stay aware, stay alive.